everyone! Welcome to the Jayda and Stitches show. If you've clicked on this video, it's because you're wondering what the difference between yarn over crochet and yarn under crochet is. Or maybe you've heard of the two terms and you're worried that maybe one of them is more correct than the other. Or maybe you are self-taught, or you learned to crochet a long time ago and you're looking to try a new technique. Or maybe you didn't even realize there was such a thing as yarn under or yarn over. I'd like to try and address all of that in today's video. First, a little useful terminology. This is a crochet hook. I hold my hook with a knife grip, meaning I hold my hook like I would hold a knife to cut my dinner. Some of you might hold your hook like a pencil grip, like you would hold a pencil in order to write a letter. Knife grip, pencil grip. They're two different grips. Both of them are correct. Either one is whatever's most comfortable for you to use, but I do feel that the way you grip your hook might influence how the over or under yarn wrap works for you, whether or not you find it comfortable, whether or not you see a difference in your crochet, or whether you want to use it at all. Next, there is definitely an up and a down. And usually, if we're hooking, our hook is up. We can see what we're doing, we can see ourselves grabbing the yarn. You might rotate the hook towards you or away from you. You might have the hook underneath, sort of turned down so that you find it's easier to grab that way. Again, we all kind of roll our hooks and use them a little bit differently. This will also influence whether you are comfortable with the yarn over or comfortable with the yarn under. And again, it'll influence the tension and maybe even the visual appearance of the fabric you make using the yarn over or the yarn under technique. And finally, this is a hook. This is yarn. This is yarn over your hook. That's a yarn over. You can see the yarn over your hook is facing up, and you're kind of able to grab it from above. Yarn under means that it's under your hook, and maybe, depending on how you hold your hook and yarn and where it's being wrapped from, you might have to twist your hook in order to grab it. This looks very different in practice, so let me take you over to the craft table. I'm going to show you with a regular sized hook and some regular yarn. I have a sample in yarn over and I have a sample in yarn under, and you can see for yourself just how different those two different techniques can be. So I'll see you over there. I have here two examples of single crochet. It's the same yarn. I made them both using the same size hook. They're just different colors. One of them is yarn over and one of them is yarn under. This one is yarn over. This is how I learned to crochet. This is how I wrap my yarn around my hook normally. This is sort of a comfortable way for me to crochet. I get a nice even sort of tension, and my single crochets have this little kind of, I want to say like a little V stitch to them. You can sort of see the little V right there. And, you know, because you're working back and forth, it's going to look different each row. There's the V again, the little V of the single crochet stitch. So that's yarn over. And you can see that it's quite a bit bigger than its neighbor. So I know they want to bend it a little bit, but this one is the same number of stitches, the same number of rows, but this is yarn under. This is somewhat tighter. You can see that I still kind of get the little V stitches, but there's just a little bit of a twist to it. A slight twist. Some people, when they do the yarn under, they get almost a full X going versus a V. But I think that might have a lot to do with your personal tension, the way you hold your hook, and the way you wrap your yarn. But there's no denying that this is definitely a tighter piece of crochet, and smaller, than this piece of crochet. Let's take a look at how it differs when you actually do the crocheting. First, yarn over. I'm going to put my hook back in my working loop here. This is how I crochet. I have my hook facing up. I put my hook through the stitch, and I yarn over by just putting the yarn over my hook. Now everybody holds their yarn and their hook a little bit differently. I'm a knife grip, not a pencil grip, and I kind of consider bringing my yarn over almost a wrap from behind, because the yarn is behind me, it's back behind my hook, and when I bring it over my hook, I am definitely bringing it over my hook, but it's sort of coming at it from the right side of the hook. I'm also right-handed, and I feel that's worth mentioning too, because some left-handed people may find it easier to just grab it from underneath. So I just taught myself how to crochet. I found it easiest to hold my yarn between these two fingers, and whenever I would grab the yarn, I found it easiest to bring the yarn towards me with my hook facing up and then rotate the hook towards me to grab the yarn. But you see, the yarn is over my hook. It is over as opposed to under my hook. Yarn over, I grab it, I pick up a loop, and then I bring it over again. But again, you see it's sort of coming from behind my hook. It's not under my hook. My hook is upright. I am bringing the yarn over, and then I am single crocheting. I'll show you that again. I slip my hook through the stitch, and my yarn is not under, it comes over. Yarn over the hook. My hook is facing up. I can rotate it, grab the yarn, and pull up a loop on my hook. I also have pretty decent control of my tension. It doesn't feel too tight or too loose. In order to single crochet, I need to yarn over hook once more and pull back through both those loops. One more time. Yarn over, it comes from behind, it's working sort of towards the direction of the crocheting I'm going. My hook is facing up, I rotate it to grab the yarn, but it is on the upper side of my hook. I pick up a loop, and I yarn over, so I'm bringing the yarn over top of my hook. My hook is facing up, I twist it a little bit to grab it, and that's single crochet yarn over. I'm going to slip my hook into my loop now. This is yarn under. So unlike before, by placing the yarn over the hook, we're going to try and yarn under the hook. So same thing, a single crochet is still you insert your hook through the next stitch, but instead of bringing it on top or over the hook with my hook facing up, I want it underneath my hook. Well, here's where I think it can get confusing for people. If you have your yarn under your hook and your hook's facing up, it's not going to grab anything. If you bring it under your hook and then feel you still have to bring it over your hook because you haven't rotated your hook, well, technically your yarn is now over your hook, so that seems a little confusing, but that's without twisting your hook. The yarn, however, has still come from underneath. So if you bring it underneath and turn your hook to grab it, that is correct. Or, I'm going to put my hook through there again. You bring it underneath, but you leave your hook facing up and you continue to wrap. It's now over your hook, but it came from underneath. This is going to change your tension a little bit, but it might be easier to grab, and you will get a rotation in the loop. I don't know if you can see that, but that creates a rotation in the loop. So some of you who try the yarn under technique might get an X shape in the front of your loop, and that might be because you yarn under and keep going. So I'm going to show you how this looks first one way and then the other. So I bring my yarn under my hook, but I'm going to rotate my hook and pull up a loop. I don't get much rotation. I don't, like in the loop, it doesn't really twist much. And then I want the yarn under my hook. Well, I can't really grab it this way. I find that uncomfortable. But I can just twist my hook and grab the yarn and pull it back through both loops. Now this makes a very tight little stitch for me. I'm going to show you that one more time. Hook through the stitch, yarn under, I'm going to twist my hook to grab it and pull up a loop. There's a very small amount of rotation, but not a lot. And then in order to complete the stitch, I kind of twist my hook back towards it. I'm not yarning over, wrapping behind, I'm just sort of leaving it underneath my hook, but I'm twisting my hook to grab it. It's almost like the shortest path between 2 points. I think that's why it creates such a small, tight stitch when I do it. That's one way to do it, by twisting your hook. Now here's the other way you might want to try it. Yarn under. All right, I don't want to twist my hook, so I will bring my yarn under my hook, but I will continue to wrap it so I don't have to twist my hook that much. I'll pick up a loop. I feel like that gives you a little more control or a little more relaxation on the tension. And then same thing, you want to bring your yarn under, you want to grab it somehow. If you are bringing it over your hook, you're going to get the same thing. So if you leave it down below and then just grab it, again, the shortest kind of motion between 2 points. I'll show you that again. I'm bringing the yarn under, but instead of turning and grabbing, I'm going to just keep rotating so that it is technically over my hook, but that's me not just turning my hook and grabbing it. I'm just bringing it from under as opposed to this is over. I'm bringing it under, and I just kind of keep going so that I don't have to twist my hook much. I pick up a loop, and then to keep my yarn kind of underneath my hook, I just sort of grab it however I find it comfortable. So maybe I bring it from under this way, maybe I just turn my hook. Either way, you're going to get a very small, tight stitch. I find it tricky to make this switch between yarn over to yarn under. But I definitely get a tighter stitch, and I get almost a little bit of a rotation. There's just the slightest amount of an X showing there. Let's do one more. Hook under the stitch. I'm not going to twist my yarn this time. I'm just going to bring it under my hook. I'm going to twist my hook instead and pick up a loop. And then I'm going to just grab it. So I'm not wrapping the yarn a whole lot. It's just mostly my hook doing the twisting and turning. But I definitely get a tighter stitch. So, yarn over, yarn under. It really is up to you. I definitely get a tighter crochet stitch if I go yarn under, especially if I do that shortest distance between 2 points, where on my second yarn over to finish the single crochet stitch, I just reach through, grab the yarn, and I don't bother trying to wrap it one way or the other. Depending on how you hold your hook, depending on how you wrap your yarn, how you learned, what's most comfortable for you, whether you're right-handed or left-handed, it's all correct. It just matters what you can do to make a fabric piece of crochet that you like the look of. I think this is a technique worth experimenting with. If you are new to crochet, knowing how to wrap your yarn in 2 different ways might be beneficial for getting 2 different tensions, or even 2 different, very different looking pieces of fabric. I don't feel that my yarn under single crochet looks very X-like, or that the loop twists as much as some other people's yarn under single crochet does. But then if I experiment with it and keep practicing, I might get more of a loop twist. I don't know, only time will tell. I hope this video helped clear up some of the questions around yarn under and yarn over for you. I hope if you came into it worrying that you were doing something wrong, that you know that you're not. And I hope maybe this will be a technique that you try. Maybe you need to play a little yarn chicken. Well, maybe tightening up your yarn or tightening up your tension can be achieved by changing the direction from which you wrap your yarn, or whether you go yarn under or yarn over. Maybe you've been really tight this whole time and you've been trying to figure out how to loosen up your tension. Maybe the other way, yarn over versus yarn under, however you've been doing it, try the opposite way and maybe that'll help. A little bit of practice and your fingers will figure it out. Until next time, everyone, stay safe, stay crafty, and have a great week. Bye, guys!
Hi, everybody! Mr. InStitches here. Thank you for watching today. Here are some of our other videos you might be interested in. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe.